Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today is Kevin Halliday, who is President of Spindle Stairs and Railings in Calgary, also a podcast host and a bodybuilding champion and a number of other things, TEDx as a speaker. So we'll talk about all that. And thanks for joining us today, Kevin.
You know what? Thank you very much for having me on. I'm pretty excited about this because, like you said, we talked years ago in your past life what you were about, and it's you think about it, the 6 degrees of separation, how close everybody is, and here we are today. And thanks for having me on.
Okay, let's start with the company first of all. Tell me a little bit about Spindle Stairs and Railings, what it is, and what you guys do.
Well, I'm going to tell you what it is because you know what the interesting part of it is? It's exactly what it sounds like: spindle, stairs, and railings. And no, we don't do transmissions. And we've been around for like 26 years now.
Wow.
And what's really interesting and young entrepreneurs out there, when you're starting a business, this is the crucial part. Now, the website hadn't started yet. So we wanted to basically 26 years ago and say, how do you actually take your name, Spindle, Stairs, and Railings? And it was just coming out on the internet. And what we did is we put it there and we actually got top rankings way back in the day. I think porn was one of the highest ratings back there before they actually banned it. But that's why we did Spindle, Stairs, Railings, because it was in the name. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. And how did you get into that? How did this all come about, this business company?
So what had happened when about 25, 26, yeah, 27 years ago. So I was in television and radio before that. And I worked for the Chum Group and there. And then my parents had a business called Spindle Factory and great company, great people. We just didn't see eye to eye like in a family business. And that's a lot of the struggles of young entrepreneurs working in family businesses.
Mm.
And I turned around and I went and started my own business, which was Spindle Stairs and Railings in Calgary, and we became one of the fastest growing companies in Canada. We won Profit 100 fastest growing company, Alberta companies for fastest growing company, most profitable company. We went from zero to like 200 employees, like within probably 5 years. It was crazy. So very exciting.
Yeah. Now, what I found really interesting about your bio, and there was one line that caught me there, and your bio said, "Life doesn't end at 50, it starts." Tell me the story behind this.
Well, that's a great question because what happened was is as being an entrepreneur as a young guy, owning my business and we're really successful. So as a young entrepreneur and then going on being great, I used to go out and drink with my buddies at night and say from 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, have a couple drinks and solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things you don't know you're in jail until you break out. And then as you start getting older, and yeah, we're successful, things are going, your mind starts to click. What's more out there? And it came in where I was 50 and I had gout, I had cancer, I had sleep apnea, I was 250 pounds overweight, and I was an alcoholic and drinking all the time. Functional alcoholic because the greatest thing about it is I'd only drink after 3 and I wouldn't drink during the day. But it was one of those things that find out who your basement friends are and your balcony friends are. So how it all started at 50 was that as owning businesses and doing that, you don't know you're in jail until you break out. And the biggest thing happened, all of a sudden I said, what would happen if I actually became clear with my vision? Yeah, I'm successful. Yes, I can do things. And then all of a sudden it changed. And it was like one of those things because change happens in an instant. And once I realized that, I got rid of my gout and I had it severe. And that was like eating healthy and all of a sudden exercising. My sleep apnea, being 250 pounds overweight, it was gone. And with no medications, I had bladder cancer. And that was just from me being drinking too much. And so if you pee yellow or red, if you pee red, check it out. It's one of those things you definitely have to get checked out. And that was the changing point. And even to this day, like right now, I'm sitting here and I'm in AFib right now, like physically in AFib. But because I changed my lifestyle as a young entrepreneur, like at 50 and started looking after myself, these were markers from my past. So here I am in AFib today, but my doctors are saying, well, you're low enough that we don't have to cardio you out yet. They're going to, and that's coming up. But I'm healthy enough that I can actually function and be great. And the whole idea is about your health, your body, your mindset. And as young entrepreneurs and older, especially over 50, you really have to look after yourself internally and respect your body because boy, do we change.
Do
So,
you think it's tough? When you look at entrepreneurs, very stressful, right? Very stressful. You're running your own company, and depending on how that looks, it could everything could fall on your shoulders, right? As an entrepreneur, you're stressed out in terms of doing stuff. And then also stressed out thinking about the future in that. So, is it easy for entrepreneurs to take whatever food and alcohol as kind of things to try to get their minds away from the stress that they're under.
well, it's a good question because what's interesting about it is, and this is my belief system, there's no such thing as stress. It's a storytelling. Your body and what your body can do and manifest is all in your mind. So having a positive mindset in anything, because in life, really, when you look at it, we all tell ourselves a story. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to be successful because of this. I've got the imposter syndrome on my shoulder, guy, and he's saying, "Oh no, you can't do it. Oh, it's stressful. Oh, if I fail, then everyone's going to think bad of me." Get rid of that because there's no such thing as stress as once you have your inner being and you just go, you know what? What's the worst thing that can happen? Nothing. I have my health. Worst case, I'll go get another job. You know what? I'll start up another company. Once you have that attitude that it's okay, you seem to grow. If you follow money, you know what? You're going to have, as people would say, stress. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this. No, it's being self-aware and look after your body because you can't look after your business. You can't look after your employees. You can't look after anybody in your life until you look after yourself. And you have to have integrity. And the integrity is that don't tell anybody what you're doing. Do it internally. And then the stress just kind of it melts away. It's just like, yeah, I'm complacent. Boy, am I going to be successful, and I can't fail.
What did you do to change your lifestyle around in terms of both diet and in terms of activity, physical activity?
Well, the changing moment came to me. It was on November 25th. I was turning 50, and what was interesting, well, I turned 50, but I had to ask myself a question. How do I really look at myself in the mirror? Like truly look at yourself in the mirror, but don't tell anybody because everything's about integrity. Tell it to yourself internally. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, this is who I am. This is what I stand about. And love yourself internally. Once you become that you respect yourself, then all of a sudden the doors in the Pandora box opens up. And once you love yourself, you can love others. And then that was the changing point. And then it became in fitness is that I met this girl and she was doing bodybuilding. And she was doing an app, and a friend, Chad McCormick, introduced her to me, which is his wife, and which I knew them for years. And I saw her competing, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I remember her from years ago." And because she did that, I asked her, "Could you train me?" And she says, "No, I'm going to get you to somebody like Leo King." And he was my trainer. He was a WNBF guy. And I said, "I want to compete on a world stage. I want to do this." Remember, I'm 240 pounds. And of course, he's going to take my money. And we'd be crazy not to. Here's a guy that's going to want to work out. I'm going to take your money. But the thing is, I had to ask myself the true question inside. Am I prepared for it? And once I visualized it, vocalized it, I became it. And what a relief in your system knowing that you could do anything. And I did it at 50. If you're younger and you did it, oh my gosh, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So it was self-love. Was the starting part is believe in yourself internally and look after your body. Feed it what it needs to be fed. Proper foods, proper exercise, just
Yeah.
proper mindset.
And you became a bodybuilding champion?
Yes. Yeah. So I started as 240 pounds. And now so 240 pounds, losing weight, working out every day. And then what had happened, this was a few years later, going in practicing. Now I'm the bodybuilding champion in my categories of age categories because I'm 58 years old. And so I got ripped right down. So got ripped down. And so my competition is guys around my age. Now, there's guys that are obviously way bigger, muscular, and they might use steroids or stuff like that. But I'm not in that. I'm in the natural field. But in the natural field too, as when you're older, you want to be very clean in what you're doing and what you put in your body. And so I was in that federation, which is a great federation. And with that category, then I won my categories in doing where I was at. And then I traveled basically all over just to compete. because it was a goal that I could actually achieve. Well, I could achieve any goal if I put my mind to it. And it was like, wait, I'm going to do that. And I went out just basically all over the world to compete. And so I'm still doing that. I'm in my phase right now that I'm going to compete next year in the Worlds
Yeah.
and in the Philippines because I do TED Talks as well on men's mental health and stuff because I believe in that. So it's the body is so important to us.
Yeah. What in your transformation and both diet and physical activity, what do you think that's meant for you in terms of your business? Um,
Oh, it's huge because you have to look at yourself as a leader. And when you look at a leader and then you're changing yourself, you have to get rid of your what I call them is we have our basement friends and we have our balcony friends. Now, basement friends, will they pull you down and do this? But just like in business, just like everything you're doing, you have to actually get rid of those people in your life that don't serve you properly. If they're pulling you down, don't be friends. And I basically got rid of all my friends. And it would have been business colleagues, it would have been anything because
yeah.
it wasn't tension relieving. If it was tension relieving or was it goal achieving? And for me to achieve my goals to be the best human that I possibly can, I had to get rid of my friends. Was
Mm,
it hard? Of course. But you know what? We're here for a better purpose and all of a sudden be a great human to yourself. And once that came, then all of a sudden new businesses opened up for me that all of a sudden I'm able to be in the hospitality industry where before I was never in the hospitality and because in the bar industry I would just drink it. Now I'm partners in Rooftop YYC, Brick and Barrel. One of the guys that brought me on, Brett Wilson, like I wouldn't have been able to do that. And the team that runs it are amazing unless I had a clear focus in my head where I was going. Just like anything, opportunities will come when we start opening that Pandora box and saying, I'm looking after myself. Other people will see that and they'll follow. And boy, the people we have on our teams,
yeah.
they are an amazing people because they see that. And I'm leading by example. So in bed by 8, like I'm very focused. Right down to the clothes I wear, it's the same thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Um, what do you talk about when you do a TED Talk? What's the topic?
So what had happened was I created a podcast. So it's I'm gonna this kind of short but long story. So what happened during COVID? I created this shed. Okay, so it's a 10 by 10 shed, and then we'd have entrepreneurs come to the shed and we'd have a conversation about the world just blew up in COVID. Okay, we're all in the same playing field. This business is done, this business is done, and we're going, well, if you're reading it in the paper, it's already too late. So we're sitting here and we're talking just in the shed. It's all like how it is. When we started talking, and men face to face, we started communicating. Then, as we're talking, the door opened up between each of us and about suicide and about our emotions, about how we felt. And I'm going, I didn't know that was a problem. I didn't know that. And as we're doing, it's called the shed effect, the shed talk while we're talking. And I said, this is incredible that we're having this conversation. I said, why don't we start a podcast and talk about this stuff that people would want to hear? I said, I'm going to do it. Let's just start out. I did. Then I started getting more people involved in it and talking. And then I realized conversations with men are basically not face to face, but we're shoulder to shoulder. And it's parallel activity. And it's creating that conversation of open space that we're doing because suicide rate amongst men between the ages of 55 and 75 is the highest, with 70% are white males. And I looked at that and I went, oh my God, that's incredibly high. We need a voice. So my TED talk to make this go around, I said, I need to do a talk. I need to talk to men about what is it like to have health, wealth, and mindset, how to create purpose in your life after 50. Because a lot of men have been divorced. All of a sudden, they're going through their second divorce, and all of a sudden their kids are growing up and they're gaining too much weight. They can't find purpose. And then all of a sudden they're going, oh, I got ailments, my heart, I can't do this. And then they just start to go down the slide. And I'm going, no, life starts at 50 because your wisdom and your power of who you are, change your body, change your mindset, and you become that person. Because we look at the woke crowd, we look at women, and nobody talks about the white guy. And I'm not doing as white as in prejudice or anything, is that we're a lone wolf out there right now as the man. And yes, we could talk about mental health, but let's talk about the men between 55 and 75 years of age and how high that is. And my TED talk is really all about men and what we need to do to open up, to listen, to give activity, to create what we call the shed movement, the shed talk. And that's where I'm really striving for, is to get that out there. And I want to do that worldwide. I'm traveling around and doing that talk and doing seminars about men over 50. You can be a bodybuilder. You can own these businesses. You can look great. You can stop drinking. You can have what you want at 50, at 55. And I'm 58 years old and I'm not stopping. And I'm looking, man, I never realized how much power I have inside. So
Mhm.
that's what the TED Talk is all about.
What do you think is missing for those men that are that take a big chunk of their lives, whether climbing the corporate ladder or trying to find success in the business world and as a professional career. What's missing and what's lacking in their lives?
The biggest thing that's lacking in their life is self-love, is actually understanding who they are internally. That outward goal and saying, I need money, I got to have this and bring it in, that's just superficial. But when you actually sit down and truly love yourself for who you are and what you stand for, and give back to whoever that is, it could be your family, it could be society, it can be anything, but truly respect your body and look after it. Because a lot of men don't, and that communication, they're very lonely and they don't communicate very well. Men don't communicate very well, especially face to face,
Yeah.
side to side, shoulder to shoulder. If you're on a fishing boat, you'll be talking and you'll be
Yeah.
playing hockey. When you're sitting with a guy playing hockey, where does your greatest conversation is when you're on the bench or when you're in the change room and they're sitting right beside you and you're talking, yeah, how's that? Oh, I just had my test for this. Communication happens when we're not facing each other or we're playing darts. And men need to have that communication more, to open up and have it, and it's okay. And to share those feelings and emotions, where a lot of them bundle it up, but we really have to feel it inside as a man, to say, oh, hey, it's okay to talk about it, but I got to look after my body as well. Like, stop the drinking, stop. And what's really interesting, as entrepreneurs and older men going through their second divorce, and a lot of people don't talk about it, porn is really high in that, on the aspects for men. And a lot of people don't talk about that, is for men on the porn side, because on their phones it's accessible that way, and it goes into a different direction. So it's being self-aware and say, oh, that's what it is. And adults are like, when they're getting older and stuff, so things change. There's more to it, but that's the first thing, is just understanding it and having that first step to communicate about mental health with men over 50, 55,
Hmm.
or any man. So yeah.
Tell me some of the well-known guests you would have had on your podcast.
Oh, well-known guests. They vary from all over. I've had Dave Asprey was one of my guests, and then I kept Shane. So I'll go. Let's do the local ones. So for Calgary and great entrepreneurs that come in there, Shane Wenzel, and coming in and then talking with about the family, about businesses and where he's at, and Rockwood with Allison, an absolutely amazing woman, uh, outstanding, and just a whole plethora of great entrepreneurs, that startups and doctors and just everybody, and men with issues, and not even issues, just talking about their mental health issues and just having a real conversation with them.
In talking to these entrepreneurs, is there a common thread, a common theme in terms uh, of why they're successful?
Oh, mindset. It's the belief system that you have. You know that little guy that's on your shoulder, that self-doubt? There's no such thing as self-doubt. It's just, oh, well, that happened. And when we talk about stress, they might say the word stress, but when it really all comes down to it, it's like, oh, okay, well, that worked. Let's try it again. But what's the craziest thing about entrepreneurs, and you can really, because there's entrepreneurs that actually created a job, which they're an employee, right? They say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, you bought yourself a job. Then there's the entrepreneur. You can actually see there's levels of them. And I'm going to use this as an example and tell you is what a thing about an entrepreneur, and you're a true entrepreneurs, it's about your support group. A true entrepreneur actually has a great support group. It might be EO, YPO, Tech, McKay. It can be any of those. when you're in these groups of mentorship, okay, that are helping you out, not family, not friends, okay? So I'm gonna take that. If you have your mentorship is family and friends, you just bought yourself a job. Appreciate it. You're gonna work hard. Get outside of that, and true entrepreneurs are the ones that are dealing with other entrepreneurs that have the same problems, because the difference is we get to share those ideas because we're on an island all by ourselves, and that lonely island is very lonely. And when you reach out and you belong to organizations like EO or YPO, what
Yeah.
happens is you're able to actually share that experience and not be judged.
Hmm.
Now, that's the most important thing. And there's no ego, because there's guys going to have $100 million or $10 million or whatever. The ego is out the door, because it doesn't matter what car you drive, how big your house is. It's about, I have the same problem with taxes. I have the same problem. And businesses as a whole for entrepreneurs are always the same. HR,
Hmm.
staffing, okay, government, and well, obviously people, payroll. They're all the same. There isn't anything different. As an entrepreneur, we have the same problems and concern. Doesn't matter if I'm in tech, stairs, in Spindle Stairs and Railings, or in the Barn Street. That's why I'm in all these different businesses, but they're all run the same. They just have different dynamics to it and expertise in it. But I'm not the expert. I'm the guy that I can run the hospital, but I can't do the brain surgery. So you hire those people.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. All righty. Well, thanks so much, Kevin, for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and we'll see you the next time as well.
Okay, great. That was Kevin Halliday, who was president of Spindle Stairs and Railings. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.